Hi Aquarius, and thank you for joining me and welcome to this Higher Arcana reading for 2018. I'm excited to be here with you guys and I'm excited to do this reading for you. I'm using the Oracle Tarot. It's one of my favorite decks. I find it so happy. I'm just using the Higher Arcana and you will see that all the cards come out, including the Tower and the Devil and Death. So don't worry about those things. Excuse me. I'm also using my tokens for clarification at the end of the video, so we'll take a look at those in a few minutes. But in the meantime, let's begin. Let me just tell you that I've done a astrological overview reading for your sign, and that's posted in the About section below. I also did a supplement reading using the horoscope spread, and I clarified each of the houses in a separate Vimeo video. All those are linked down below. If the Instagram post reaches 500 hearts, then I will actually make some, if not all of those videos available for free on YouTube. So keep liking the Instagram content or support me in the channel by renting 1 or 2 videos, okay? So here are your cards for 2018. I'm very excited about this reading and I hope you guys have a wonderful new year, okay? So your first card is the Strength card. So strength and fortitude is really important for you this year. In fact, in January, we start off the year with a beautiful full moon eclipse that's happening in Leo in your 7th house of partnership. I feel as though you are coming to a completion point with regard to a relationship or the way that you've allowed relationships to function in your life in the past. So now you are gathering your strength to really go your own way, break apart. Aquarius is an extremely social sign, really concerned about its resonance with people around it, really concerned about its balance and in social order. And so when you feel alienated or cut off from people and situations with whom you've had that connection, it can feel very overwhelming and even distressing. So be mindful of that and be patient with that. This is courage to have an open heart, the truth to transform, not hiding from the truth, looking at circumstances. This is also signaling that the year will have a lot of physical exertion, particularly in the way of exercise. Although there's not too many transits in that area of your chart, definitely after November you will see that happen. By the way, this reading is for the whole year, not just the first 6 months like the astrology down below. Okay, so we start off the year with the sun moving into your first house. Yes, in Capricorn, yes. And so yeah, by the end of the month you have Venus and Mercury and the South Node there. So we start off the year with this big spotlight on Aquarius, and that's going to give you a lot of attention from people around you. You're going to be kind of transforming, relinquishing things that don't serve you, and having positive attention from things like Venus. So personal strength and ability to stand proudly for yourself and your interests. The next message is the sun. Very powerful center. I mean, this is just celebratory. By the way, all the planets that are in your first house at the beginning of the year will dissipate and disperse, and by the end of the year there's going to be another focal point on Aquarius. So you really get one in January and then another kind of focal point over in November. And so there's going to be a lot of events happening in the latter part. In fact, you and Capricorn have a lot of transits, a lot of focus on these 2 areas of the chart. So this is happening in your personality. There's the spotlight on you, and the sun is kind of the exemplar of it. So for me, the sun and Leo, which rules the strength card, are interchangeable, which means that Leo has that spotlight coming from within out, and the sun is of course onto all of us, right, and onto Leo as well. So this is kind of the inner light shining out, and this is standing in the spotlight. So I feel as though this is very complementary, although sometimes when you are trying to make something happen from within yourself, that can come into conflict with being brought to something or being recognized for some type of attention. But the crossing energy of the sun can most likely be positive. People enjoy you, people recognize you for who you are inside, they recognize your value. Here is the next card, the Hanged Man. And so we have a suspension of belief. There's a suspension or a disbelief that things a suspension or disbelief that things can, in a certain way, work themselves out. There might be a bit of a sacrifice that you make for a friend or a social group. Big consciousness reading. So there's going to be a lot of attention on your relationship to other people this year. Jupiter is in your 10th house of career. There's going to be a lot of like social standing questions, who you are in the world, what is your part and parcel, and how do you contribute. There's also significant waiting periods in 2018 for your social life. It might take you a while to find the appropriate people to connect with, to understand, and to be done right by. And so it's important for you to wait out things. I feel like there's this level of, I'm waiting, but when are you going to say something? When are you going to make it happen? Even though you may be in agreement with someone about something, you're kind of starting to wonder whether or not that agreement is something that will transpire into action, or if you'll lose ground by waiting. And people do lose ground by waiting. It's really important to recognize that even the most honest or well-intentioned people can't account for their future choices and actions, right? So I can understand there is a little bit of trepidation or worry about where things will go especially if you're a woman and if you want to have children, if you're waiting and waiting and waiting for someone to make up their mind or for someone to get their act together. Physiology impacts women's choices, and so therefore you want to be careful what you're waiting for. That's just the channeled message. Below the surface, we have the Wheel of Fortune, so good things are brewing for you. In fact, I feel like particularly after August and September, you're going to have a wonderful push of energy that's going to be coming and supporting you to move forward on some type of project. I feel as though there's great excitement for you, Aquarius, this year. I'm really surprised to see the Strength card. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? But you definitely do have it. I feel like, with that full moon eclipse in your 7th house, it really kind of fired things up. Sorry for the pun, but it actually kind of made things really robust and energetic. It pushed you away from somebody, or it pushed you towards something else in a very, very impactful way, because it was with your North Node. Again, if you don't get the transits I'm referencing, then just watch the video that's linked down below. But basically you were pushed in some kind of direction, and it was just really overwhelming. You get the giggles. Time is flying well, and you're going in good directions. You can't believe your good luck, the fortune. And so on a fundamental level, your life is changing. You've been pushed in that direction. It's like, let's say that you get accepted to Harvard when you graduate from high school, and you have summer break to get ready and go. Pretty much anything that you do, and I'm sure that people can think of a comment of what they could do to destroy that, but most likely most normal people that get into Harvard won't sabotage their entrance through those 4 months before they enter. But just as a fun game, if anybody could leave a comment of how they would sabotage their entry into Harvard, I love a good laugh. So if something funny comes through, I know Aquarians are super funny, so if you guys thought of something funny, please let me know. Don't be shy. People really like jokes here, so that's good. So we have Wheel of Fortune, changing your fortune for the better. And I feel like you have this kind of, something gets a hold of you, and you're determined to almost go after something. But there's a specific confirmation that you have made with specific people, and you have to see it through. So like you've made some kind of promise towards someone, promise to some type of situation, and so now you're kind of stuck because on the personal level something's changing while something's kind of staying the same in a public level. But I feel as though this is below the surface, and I don't feel like it's in direct conflict yet. I feel as though you're able to manage everything pretty well. We have the Strength card. So you feel this momentum, this urge to move forward, this great success in the past. So I use this position to clarify as the past illuminates the present moments. So not so much something that's passive way before, but something that's really active still. So we have the card of change and transformation, the Death card in other decks. So this is not a very scary Death card, but it does represent that something was left behind. Something was no longer feasible, no longer functional. It had to go. And so you've made that change in your life. You've made that fundamental change in your life in a new direction that led you to new opportunities, transformation, and just a release of something. And so you may have completed something, like I said, like high school. But of course, everybody completes that at a certain point in time, or most people do. And so change and transformation has happened. You're in a position of transition. Sorry for the pun. I'm just punning all over the place, and I didn't mean it. Or not. It's not a pun. It's a rhyme. Sorry for the silly rhyme. But yeah, there's this change and transformation that's abrupt, and it's already happened, and now you're dealing with the consequences of it. This could have been a rolling change, and when I say rolling change, I mean a change that had happened over a long period of time, like a relationship falling apart, or completion of a degree like a PhD, or some kind of completion of something that took a really long time. Well, this happened, and now you're moving forward. So I don't feel as though it was like it happened and then it was gone. I feel like it just took a really long time, and it lasted so long that the change and transformation that it became a part of life. You got so used to it as a facet of life that you forgot how to live life in the present moment, because we were constantly in this adjusting, adapting phase. And now it's time to just build up and glow up and work on the things that you have been kind of having on a personal level, and hoping for the future, rather than just kind of acceding to circumstances and bowing your head down and dealing with what was being brought onto your shoulders. The next message is the Last Judgment, one of my favorite cards in the tarot. So we have the Last Judgment, a final decision. And in this deck, I really love it too. It's like making the choice to be that connecting point for someone, or making that connection and understanding that someone is a connecting point for you. The Judgment can be about leaving things in the past, but it's often about bringing things into the future with different terms. So slightly adjusting your expectation towards something and bringing it forward. You're making a decision to move forward on something. You definitely are. I feel as though you feel this is a necessary step, and I feel like your whole life has brought you to this point. In 2018, Aquarius, I feel as though you are going to be very sense of urgency is here, and a personal empowerment, understanding that you have to make a certain directional decision, or that it won't last. I feel as though you value yourself like never before. You value yourself as a person or an individual, and the decisions you make, you have a real understanding that the decisions you make this year will have consequences. And if you have if you make passive decisions or if you flake out on something, then the consequences will not be as positive as if you actively challenge the energy that's coming onto you. The next message is the Justice card. This is the card of Libra and honorable choices. So the Justice card, fairness. This is your approach to the situation. You're approaching circumstances in a fair and equitable manner. You're not challenging anything or anyone. You're accepting your position and circumstances. You're seeking truth and fairness. I feel like maybe for some of you, these two things were connected, that you were in some way under the thumb of unfairness for a long time, which landed you in a situation that was bad or inconvenient or hurtful. And so now you have to find the personal strength to move forward and go in a different direction. Okay, so there's change and overcoming for you in 2018 from all of that, but it's going to be very exciting. It's not going to be like, oh, I have to get all these things done and all these sad things completed. This is like exhilaration, because you remember once again what it's like to be excited about life, because you're no longer fighting against it, you're going along with it. And it's not that you were doing anything before that was wrong, it's just you were tied up in circumstances. I hate how our society blames people who are tied up in circumstances. I think most people, if they could have a choice, they would live happily. And it's only because they've been abused so badly that they choose the otherwise, right? So I feel like it's almost like it's a blessing. It's a very serious reading in a certain way, but I'm talking about happiness, and you are getting happiness. You are definitely getting happiness and fulfillment of what you wanted. The next card is the Moon card. So there's subtle feelings around you. This could be a Pisces energy around you. I think somewhere else I kept seeing Pisces, Aquarius, Pisces, Aquarius. There's also this kind of subtle feeling or intuition that is protecting you and overlooking in your circumstances. In the Moon, you could be feeling as though you're not so sure about friends and associates. We got this in your 11th house, your social house, for the Instagram reading. So watch the 11th house video if you can. And this was this feeling as though there was duplicity in your social environment and your friendships. So if you feel that way, most likely those friendships are going to come into some kind of change, into some kind of restructuring, because it can't go on as it has. And in fact, I'm sorry to say, in some of my other readings, the horoscope reading, I did see that relationship was moving towards an end. But that's not true for everybody. It's just a message for those of you who, have that in your mind. But there could be like a betrayal or a loss of faith, a loss of trust. And friendship's not very good if there's no trust, right? Your hopes and fears is the Emperor. So you really are really, I feel you, Aquarius. You really want that grounded energy, the trust coming through. You want to really understand that the people you're dealing with are people who are worthy, who are going to respect you, who are not going to cause you, disarray or cause you problems. And so I think that you're really hoping for that, but you're also very much afraid of the power, giving over your power to some kind of institution that's going to tell you to do this or that. You are really concerned or uncomfortable with the idea that someone else would be navigating your life. And this is the breakdown for you. I think that you're really coming in to realize that this year you need to direct your life for yourself, and autonomy is actually your best solution. That doesn't mean that you're going to be single. That doesn't mean that you're going to be alone. It just means that you realize that under some kind of direction of another person, by giving over so much power, you become in some way enslaved, in some way restricted. Okay, so the first card we have is the Tradition card. This is the card of the Hierophant. There we have the Hanged Man. Okay, so I feel like, yes, issues to do with tradition. There's issues to do with the way that things have always been done. Now, I know the newer generations don't necessarily do that as much, but I think that most people from older generations do fall into certain habits, especially around key social circumstances, key social events. So for the most part, people in some way, adapt and stuff, but there is this kind of nod to traditions, and sometimes those things are implicit, such as implicit belief systems about the age of marriage, or who you should marry, or how you should live. All those things can still be implicit in our culture, even though we might be progressive. So I feel like maybe there's like some kind of expectation that you're still on board with, or maybe surrounded by. Maybe all your friends have children and husbands, and you are the independent Aquarian business person. You can have a husband and children too, I'm not sure, but maybe you're kind of reassessing that. Although this year I feel as though so far we don't see any point of disconnection. I feel like the disconnection happened here, but you're still working it out, what it actually means. And if you watch my astrology video, I actually start talking about that in the 12th house, how you have begun a 4-year cycle in Capricorn in your 12th house that's going to be quite significant. So check out the video, it's free down below. Okay, the next message is the Hanged Man in tradition and the High Priestess. So this is the lack of structure, right? This is the vacuous space, and tradition is the complete structuralism. So this is post-structuralism, anti-structuralism. There's no structure here, and tradition is human-made structure. I really like this statement, and I don't know what context I heard it in, but it was all about how if you look at human construction, and this is to do with this, but it's a bit of a tangent. If you look at human construction of buildings, of everything that we build, roads, buildings, physical structures, it's actually, even though we're so advanced in terms of how we build things, it's still so archaic, because and very basic and simplistic, because if you look at those structures, they are all perfectly smooth, whereas we would equate smoothness with perfection, with idealism. In fact, if you look at nature, it's the intricacy of design that is the real perfection. So if you look at one tree's bark, it will never be like the bark of another tree, or one face of a rock will never be the same as another wall of rock. And so the unique ridges, if you look at any piece of nature, the unique ridges and infrastructure of nature, this openness of it is where the freedom lies, spiritually. Sorry if that just got a little bit weird. I have actually a second comment, and I'm sorry, Aquarius, but maybe you guys will find it interesting. So when I was doing my candles, I was buying scent for the candle, specific scents. And so I was speaking with a person who was educating me on the scents, and he said that synthetic scents are more common in all these products, but they only have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 notes, which is the different points of scent, right? And then he pointed out several scents that were natural in nature, and in fact those natural scents have 2,000, 3,000 or more notes. They have much more diversity within them, and so therefore human-made structures may work well for us in replicating the perfection of nature, the holistic aspect of nature, but in fact it's still very limited and somewhat grotesque, and in being that way is limited in its scope, right? So we should always adjust anything we create, because we are not nature. We don't have the capacity to create like nature. And so yes, progress and making things is a good idea, but it's the intricacy that is just very interesting in nature, that allows it to, and nature regenerates as well, but I think that it's the fact that we get too tied. What I'm trying to say is that we get too tied to structures that we've built, you know, the all these buildings and all these different monuments and all this stuff, where in fact it's only temporary, and when the time comes to transform it, we should transform them rather than holding on to them. And that's true for our private lives as well. So I think that that's kind of what you're dealing with in your social life in 2018. Sorry, that got really, really long. I don't even know how long that was, but we have the Temperance card modifying the Wheel of Fortune. So careful decision making, careful approach. I couldn't stress that enough for you. I think that there will be a lot of things that will make it really easy for you to get excited and distracted in 2018. The second modifier is the Chariot. Personal overcoming circumstances and situations, moving to better outcomes, progressing over things of the past. These are the messages of good faith that are coming into your life. In the past, we had change and the Tower. So when I say this was slow rolling change, well, this is really fast change. But I feel as though you've gone through that metamorphosis, catharsis. I mean, if you've just gone through that whole shift that took everything out, you're prepared to move into the future, right? The second clarifier for the change card is the World. So it may have left you in a different place. It may have left you in a different country. You've moved and transformed and progressed into the world. You've left the past in the past and you're moving forward. Judgment card, okay? So we have the Star modifying the Judgment card. So destined decisions. I would be very confident in the decisions I make when I'm an Aquarius moon. But for Sun, Moon, and Rising, all of us, making decisions is going to be natural in the appropriate directions. That's a wonderful year for that. Let's see the next message. We have the Devil card, or limitations. So expect challenges. Expect a certain degree of obstacles that may be coming up for you in 2018. You know what you want to execute, but maybe there will be some kind of obstacle or something standing in your way, in which case just try to find your ways around it. So now I'm going to talk about the 4 quarters: the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth. The first quarter represents this winter and spring in the northern hemisphere, spring, summer, summer, fall, fall, winter, and then opposite in southern hemisphere. Sorry, you guys in the south, if you guys want to clarify, that's fine. Ask away, but I think it's clear now. At first I would get so many questions and I didn't know how to answer it, but it's temporal time. It's not seasonal. We just express it through the seasons, okay? So first quarter, January through March, you have the Fool. You're initiating a new path in a new direction, new vistas, new opportunities and hope. The next message, we have the Empress for the second quarter. So this is coming into your femininity. You had the Empress come up a lot in that reading for the horoscope, which means that there will be a lot of influence of creativity upon you in 2018, new directions, new opportunities. Then in the third quarter, the Hermit, maybe a time when you are somewhat separate by choice. I feel like you'll need to have a timeout because I feel like a lot's going on. This is kind of standing still. This is pushing you this way. This is going that way. This is being left in the past. So you have all this different directions going on and you're just like, it's like having 4 kids and each kid is pulling you in a different direction, literally. Here is the next message. We have the Lovers for the fourth quarter. So love is definitely coming into your life and becoming more and more real, whether you're in a relationship right now or not. But there's really a deeper connection that you are meant to learn and abide by. And I feel like as independent as your spring and summer is, the first 6 months of the year, the second months are going to be really about creating a couple, creating some kind of union and connection. And I feel because the eclipse happens right on January 31st, I feel like it's going to take you a minute to catch up with what's going on. But I feel like this is like glow up time. It's not blow up time. You're getting better and you're getting more confident with who you are. A lot of emotional healing as well. So okay, so do you guys want to see your outcome card for 2018? You've got the Magician, Aquarius. Look at that. Just look at that. So we have, yeah, moving towards, and she's walking up the stairs towards this. So that there could be some kind of, you know, someone's calling the shots and maybe you're heading over in that direction. It could be a man or a woman, but definitely taking chances and making things happen. I feel as though this is a part of a reading for a transition into 2018. And so these are necessary things. The bondage card is ruled by Capricorn, and this is where Lilith is. So this is some of the obstacles. This is where some of the obstacles are coming from. Okay, so let's take a look at the tokens just briefly. I hope you guys like this reading. So let's see. So we have the peace sign. So by the end of the year, you're definitely moving into a place of peace and understanding with others. I got two. I got Cancer and the fire token for the Magician. Maybe you're concerned by a fire person in your past, or maybe you're worried about a Cancer with whom you've had dealings. The Fool. Let's see. The Fool. We have... Hold on. I keep picking out not the... So the Fool is Aquarius. So there you go. That's you, girl or boy. So we have a new beginning for you, and you're starting off right fresh. At the center of the Strength card, let's see, Jupiter. So you feel like you have the momentum that you need in order to get ahead in life. There's like this such a confident place that you're coming from, and I feel like you have to wait out certain issues, that there's restrictions that are on your life that are holding you back. That Pallas Athene is justice. She's the daughter of Jupiter, and so she's with the Justice card, right? So there's this like influence upon you for fairness and order that you need to seek out. In your Empress position, let's see what we got here. We have the Earth card. Earth. Okay. So you have Earth. And so she could be a Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, or it could be just a very creative Earth energy that becomes very important for you. The Wheel of Fortune. Let's see. I've got the Eye of Ra, so I feel like everything's divine. It almost feels like a transcendent religious reading, like you're just this kind of little, the divine masculine in the social life. So your restrictions are your relationships with other men. That's the tradition as you're stepping into the feminine form, or the divine feminine. That's pretty beautiful. That doesn't mean that you need to forsake the divine masculine. And then the South Node, which is an Aquarius in your first house, releasing things. You have to mature before you move forward. I'm not saying you're immature, because I know there's some people out there who are watching in their, in their 70s or 80s, and they're like, yo, I'm mature. But just releasing things of the past, But there are some 7-year-olds that are very immature. That's when they cut loose, right? That's when they can. And then we have the Moon for the Moon. So yeah, I feel as though, a lot of wondering is going to happen about people. A lot of wondering is going to happen. You're going to wonder a lot about people with whom you are in contact with. And then the Lovers is the divine feminine. So there's the divine masculine and divine feminine, and they'll find peace. So if you are in some kind of a conflict with your significant other, if they are from the other divine gender, then you are finding peace. If you're single, then maybe there's that connection that's being made. But in the process of which the divine masculine, or the masculine force, has to stop trying to control all the power in the dynamic. The Sun, blessings. Blessings, blessings, blessings. It's going to be a beautiful year. And I hope you enjoyed this reading, this Higher Arcana reading. And check out the Vimeo horoscope reading as well as my astrology reading down below. Aquarius, happy, happy New Year. Stay tuned for more. I will talk with you soon. Take care. Bye.